The Deception. The dawn of July 15, 2045, broke over a world blissfully unaware of the cosmic deception about to unfold. As the first rays of sunlight kissed the gleaming skyscrapers of New York, Tokyo, and Dubai, humanity went about its morning rituals, oblivious to the alien vessels silently breaching the thermosphere. It was Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a sharp-eyed astronomer at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, who first noticed the anomaly. A tiny blip on her radar screen, moving with unnatural precision. Her heart raced as she double-checked the readings, triple-checked them, then reached for her phone with trembling fingers. "Director Alvarez, you need to see this. Now." Within hours, observatories and space agencies worldwide confirmed the sighting. A sleek, silver craft, roughly the size of a cruise ship, had entered Earth's orbit. Its design was unlike anything humans had ever conceived. All smooth curves and pulsing lights, as if it were alive. As news of the alien arrival spread, the world held its collective breath. Social media exploded with theories, from doomsday predictions to celebrations of humanity's first contact. Governments scrambled to formulate responses, and militaries around the globe went on high alert. Then, precisely 24 hours after its arrival, the alien ship broadcast its first message. "People of Earth," a melodious voice echoed from radios and televisions worldwide, translated simultaneously into every known language. "We come in peace, bearing gifts of knowledge and technology. We are the Zarkeli, and we wish to usher your species into a new era of galactic cooperation." The voice belonged to Captain Syleth, the Zarkeli ambassador. As he spoke, holographic projections of his form appeared in major cities across the planet. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, with iridescent blue skin and large, expressive eyes that seemed to radiate warmth and wisdom. "We have watched your civilization's progress for centuries," Syleth continued, his voice soothing the fears of millions. "Now, at last, you are ready to join the greater galactic community. We invite your world leaders to a summit aboard our vessel, where we shall lay the foundation for a brighter future." The response was electric. People poured into the streets, celebrating what many hailed as the dawn of a new age. Skeptics found their voices drowned out by the tide of hope and excitement sweeping the globe. World leaders hurriedly convened an emergency United Nations session. Debates raged through the night, but by morning, a consensus was reached. Earth would accept the Zarkeli's invitation. 7 days later, on a warm summer evening, a select group of human representatives prepared to board the alien craft. The delegation included President Lai Chen of the United World Council, renowned scientist Dr. Adebayo Okafor, and spiritual leader Sister Maria Constanza, among others. They stood on a specially constructed platform in Geneva, surrounded by throngs of cheering spectators and a forest of cameras. As a shimmering beam of light engulfed the delegation, transporting them to the Zarkeli ship, few noticed the subtle smirk that flashed across Captain Syleth's holographic face. Aboard the alien vessel, the human delegates marveled at technology beyond their wildest dreams. Gravity shifted at will, holographic displays sprang to life with a mere thought, and the very walls seemed to breathe with an organic intelligence. Captain Syleth greeted them personally, his towering form even more impressive in the flesh. "Welcome, friends," he said, spreading his 4 arms in a gesture of embrace. "You stand at the threshold of a grand new chapter in your history." For hours, the Zarkeli regaled the humans with tales of galactic wonders and promises of shared knowledge. They spoke of eliminating disease, ending hunger, and unlocking the secrets of faster-than-light travel. With each revelation, the human delegates grew more excited, more certain that this was indeed the beginning of a utopian future. None of them noticed the silent, smaller aliens scurrying in the shadows, arming weapons and manning battle stations. Back on Earth, astronomers like Dr. Rodriguez found their instruments behaving oddly. Satellite communications experienced inexplicable delays, and several space telescopes went temporarily offline. But in the excitement of the alien arrival, These anomalies were attributed to the Zarkali's advanced technology and dismissed. It was an amateur stargazer in rural Australia who first saw it. Peter Mackenzie, a retired schoolteacher with a passion for astronomy, was observing the night sky when he noticed something strange. The stars were disappearing. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. But as he watched, mouth agape, entire constellations winked out of existence. In their place, dark, angular shapes began to emerge. Peter fumbled for his phone, his fingers clumsy with shock as he dialed the local observatory. "The sky," he gasped when someone finally answered. "The sky is alive with ships, thousands of them." His warning came too late. Aboard the Zarkali vessel, the human delegation was just sitting down to a lavish feast when the ship's atmosphere suddenly changed. The warm, golden light shifted to a harsh, red glow, and the gentle hum of machinery rose to an ominous growl. Captain Silith's kindly demeanor melted away like a hologram dissolving. His eyes, once soft and welcoming, now burned with cold fire. "Foolish humans," he snarled, his voice no longer melodious but grating and cruel. "Did you really think you were worthy of joining us?" Before the stunned delegates could react, energy fields sprang up around them, trapping each in a personal prison. President Lai Chen found her voice first. "What is the meaning of this?" she demanded, her diplomat's composure cracking. Silith laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "The meaning? The meaning is that you are primitive, gullible creatures ripe for conquest. Your worlds will burn, your people will serve, and the mighty Zarkali Empire will feed on the ashes of your civilization." As if on cue, the ship's walls became transparent, revealing the horrifying truth. The once empty space around Earth now teemed with warships. Thousands upon thousands of them, emerging from some kind of cloaking technology, their weapons primed and aimed at the blue planet below. Dr. Okafor pressed his hands against his energy prison, his scientific mind racing to comprehend the scale of the deception. "All this time," he whispered, "you were just clearing the way for your invasion fleet." "Indeed." Tylith nodded, seeming almost proud that the human had figured it out. "Your pitiful defenses are blind, your leaders are in our grasp, and your people are still celebrating in the streets. By the time they realize the truth, it will be far too late." The alien captain turned to a vast view screen dominating one wall of the chamber. The image showed Earth, peaceful and blue, unknowingly on the brink of catastrophe. Silith raised all four of his arms in a grand gesture. "Let the cleansing begin," he roared. As the human delegates watched in horror, unable to warn their people, unable to do anything but bear witness, the first salvo of the Zarkali fleet illuminated the night sky. Streaks of searing energy lanced towards Earth, heralding the beginning of a war humanity was utterly unprepared to fight. In cities around the world, crowds that had gathered to celebrate first contact looked up in confusion, then terror, as the stars began to fall. But these were no mere meteors streaking across the sky. These were the opening salvos of an alien armada hell-bent on subjugation. The Zarkali's deception was complete. Humanity's greatest hope had, in the blink of an eye, become its greatest nightmare. As panic erupted across the globe, as the first waves of alien destruction rained down, one question burned in every human mind. How could they possibly hope to survive? The unlikely hero. As chaos erupted across the globe, a solitary figure moved with purpose through the panicked crowds of Washington, D.C. Mira Chen, to all outward appearances, was nothing more than a janitor at a nondescript government building. Her unremarkable uniform and quiet demeanor allowed her to slip past the throngs of people fleeing the streets, unnoticed amidst the cacophony of air raid sirens and distant explosions. Mira's true identity was known to only a handful of people on the planet. Dr. Mira Chen, quantum physicist and chief architect of humanity's most closely guarded secret, Project Phoenix. For the past decade, she had lived a double life, maintaining her cover as a simple custodian while leading a team of the world's brightest minds in a hidden facility beneath the streets of the capital. As she approached an innocuous maintenance store in an alley, Mira allowed herself a grim smile. The Zarkali's attack was devastating, yes, but not entirely unexpected. Some within the highest echelons of government had always suspected that humanity's first contact with alien life might not be peaceful. Project Phoenix was their insurance policy. Mira pressed her palm against the door, and a hidden scanner hummed to life, reading not just her fingerprints, but the unique quantum signature of her cells, a security measure of her own design. The door slid open silently, revealing a steep staircase descending into darkness. As she hurried down the steps, the sounds of destruction from above faded, replaced by the low hum of advanced machinery. The bunker that housed Project Phoenix was built to withstand even the most potent known weapons, including, theoretically, those of advanced alien civilizations. Status report. Mira barked as she entered the main laboratory. A dozen haggard-looking scientists snapped to attention, their faces a mix of fear and determination. Dr. Amit Patel, her second-in-command, rushed forward with a tablet. The Zarkali weapons are like nothing we've ever seen, Mira. They're not just destroying infrastructure. They're altering the very molecular structure of everything they touch. It's as if they're rewriting reality itself. Mira nodded grimly. Then it's a good thing we've been preparing to do the same. What's the status of the Phoenix swarm? Amit's expression brightened slightly. The latest simulations are promising. We've successfully programmed the nanobots to adapt to and counteract energy signatures, similar to what we're observing from the Zarkali weapons. Good, Mira said, moving to a large, spherical chamber in the center of the lab. Inside, barely visible to the naked eye, trillions of microscopic robots swirled in a glittering vortex. Because we're activating them now. A hush fell over the lab. They all knew the risks. The Phoenix nanobots were designed to absorb and redirect energy on a scale never before achieved. In theory, they could create an adaptive shield around the entire planet, turning the aliens' own weapons against them. In practice, well, they were about to find out. Dr. Chen, a voice crackled over the lab's speakers. We have a priority communication from the Pentagon. A holographic screen flickered to life, revealing the grim face of General Sandra Martinez, one of the few military leaders aware of Project Phoenix. Her uniform was disheveled, and a trickle of blood ran from a cut above her eye. Doctor, please tell me you have something. We're getting our asses handed to us up here. Mira straightened, her voice steady. We're initiating Project Phoenix now, General. I suggest you warn all our forces to prepare for some atmospheric anomalies. The general nodded sharply. Do what you have to do, Doctor. God help us all. The transmission cut out. Mira turned to her team, her eyes blazing with a mixture of fear and determination. You all know the risks. Once we release the Phoenix swarm, there's no turning back. If we miscalculated even slightly, we could do the Zarkali's job for them and destroy our world ourselves. She paused, looking each scientist in the eye. But if we do nothing, our planet burns. Our families, our friends, everything we've ever known or loved will be reduced to ash. I can't make this decision alone. We do this together, or not at all. One by one, the scientists nodded. Amit stepped forward, his hand hovering over the release mechanism. For Earth, he said softly. Mira placed her hand over his. For Earth, she echoed, and together they initiated the launch sequence. The sphere in the center of the lab began to pulse with an otherworldly light. Mira felt a vibration deep in her bones as the containment field disengaged. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a sound like a trillion tiny thunderclaps, the nanobots burst from their prison. They moved faster than the eye could track, flowing like quicksilver through specially designed conduits in the facility's walls. Within seconds, they had reached the surface and begun to spread across the war-torn sky. On screens around the lab, the scientists watched with a mixture of awe and terror as their creation took flight. The nanobots spread in a glittering wave, forming complex, ever-shifting patterns as they adapted to the alien assault. Above Washington, D.C., a Zarkeli destroyer unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, intent on reducing the human capital to rubble. But as the deadly beams approached, the swarm of nanobots coalesced, forming a shimmering shield. The alien energy struck the barrier and seemed to hesitate, like water droplets sizzling on a hot pan. For a heart-stopping moment, Mira feared they had failed. Then, with a flash that lit up the sky like a newborn sun, the Zarkeli's attack rebounded. Augmented by the nanobots' absorption and redirection protocols, the reflected energy struck the alien ship with devastating force. The destroyer, a craft that had laid waste to countless civilizations, crumpled like tinfoil under the onslaught. A cheer went up in the underground lab, but Mira's celebration was short-lived. On other screens, she could see the nanobots struggling against the sheer volume of the alien assault. They were working, yes, but they were also adapting in ways she hadn't anticipated. "Amit," she called, her voice tense. "Are you seeing these energy patterns? The swarm is evolving faster than we projected." Her colleague nodded, his fingers flying over a console. "The alien weapons are more complex than we imagined. The nanobots are rewriting their own code on the fly to compensate. I'm not sure we can predict what they'll do next." As if in answer to his words, a new alert blared through the lab. On the main screen, a satellite image showed a massive swarm of nanobots breaking away from Earth's atmosphere, streaking towards the Zarkeli fleet in a glittering wave of artificial retribution. "My God," someone whispered. "They're taking the fight to the aliens." Mira watched, her heart pounding, as humanity's last, best hope surged into the cosmic battlefield. She had dreamed of this moment for years, worked towards it with single-minded devotion. Now that it was here, she felt a complex mix of pride, fear, and a strange sense of loss. Her creation, her phoenix, was leaving the nest. As the nanobots engaged the alien armada, eruptions of light and energy bloomed in the night sky. It was beautiful and terrifying, a war of unimaginable scale and complexity being waged on the edge of space. "What now?" Amit asked, his voice barely a whisper. Mira squared her shoulders, her eyes never leaving the cosmic light show above. "Now," she said, "we pray that we've given humanity a fighting chance, and we prepare for whatever comes next." In labs and bunkers around the world, other scientists and soldiers watched in awe as Project Phoenix took flight. And in the streets, as the alien onslaught faltered in the face of this unexpected resistance, people began to emerge from their shelters. They looked to the sky, where a glittering veil now stood between them and annihilation, and for the first time since the invasion began, they felt something long forgotten: hope. The battle for Earth had only just begun, but thanks to an unlikely hero and her microscopic army, humanity had taken its first step from the brink of extinction to the threshold of the stars. The desperate gambit. The world burned. 12 hours had passed since the Zarkeli began their assault, and despite the miraculous intervention of Project Phoenix, the tide of battle remained precariously balanced. Major cities across the globe lay in ruins, their once proud skylines reduced to twisted metal and smoldering ash. The death toll climbed by the minute, and the very fabric of human civilization seemed to be unraveling. In what remained of the Pentagon's command center, General Sandra Martinez surveyed the holographic map of Earth with bloodshot eyes. Red indicators denoting areas of Zarkeli control blinked menacingly across every continent. "Status report," she barked, her voice hoarse from hours of issuing orders. A young lieutenant, his uniform stained with sweat and soot, stepped forward. "Ma'am, we've lost contact with our forces in Eastern Europe and most of Southeast Asia. The Phoenix nanobots are holding the line in North America and parts of Africa, but they're spread thin. We're not sure how much longer they can maintain the defensive shield." Martinez nodded grimly. She'd seen too many good soldiers die today to show any outward sign of despair. And the Zarkeli's new tactic. The lieutenant's face paled. They've begun using some kind of solar flare technology, ma'am. They're somehow harnessing and directing the sun's energy against us. Our scientists say it's like nothing they've ever seen. The heat, it's scorching entire regions. As if to emphasize his point, another section of the holographic globe flared an angry red. Australia's outback, already a harsh desert, was now a sea of glass, the sand fused by unimaginable heat. "Get me Dr. Chen," Martinez ordered. "If anyone can figure out how to counter this, it's her." Thousands of miles away, deep beneath the streets of Washington, D.C., Mira Chen was already working on the problem. The Project Phoenix lab was a hive of frenetic activity, scientists rushing between workstations, holograms flickering with streams of data. "The nanobots are adapting," Mira muttered, her eyes darting between multiple screens. "But not fast enough. The Zarkali's solar flare weapon is overwhelming their energy absorption capacity." Dr. Amit Patel looked up from his own console, his face haggard with exhaustion. "If we could just buy some time, maybe we could reprogram the swarm toe." He was cut off by a violent tremor that shook the entire facility. Dust rained from the ceiling, and for a moment, the lights flickered ominously. "They've breached the outer defenses," a voice called out in panic. "They're in the city." Mira's mind raced. They were out of time. The nanobots were humanity's last, best hope, but they needed something more. Something unexpected. Her eyes fell on a sealed container in the corner of the lab, marked with biohazard symbols. "Amit," she said slowly, a desperate plan forming in her mind. "What if we introduced a biological component to the swarm?" Her colleague's eyes widened in shock. "The symbiotes." "Mira, those are highly experimental. We have no idea how they'll interact with the nanobots, let alone human physiology." "We're out of options," Mira insisted. "The nanobots are technological marvels, but they lack the adaptability of living organisms. If we can merge them with the symbiotes, create a true techno-organic hybrid." Another explosion rocked the facility, closer this time. Alarms blared as the lab's security systems engaged. "Do it," Emmett nodded, already moving towards the containment unit. As they worked feverishly to integrate the symbiotes with a sample of the nanobot swarm, the sounds of battle grew ever closer. The lab's blast doors, designed to withstand nuclear strikes, groaned under the assault of Zarkali energy weapons. "We need more time," Mira growled, her fingers flying over the controls. The merged swarm swirled in its containment field, flashes of organic tissue now visible among the metallic glints of the nanobots. A thunderous boom echoed through the lab as the outer doors finally gave way. The sounds of alien weaponry and human screams filled the air. "Mira," Amit shouted over the chaos. "It's now or never." With a silent prayer to whatever forces might be listening, Mira activated the launch sequence. The containment field dropped, and the hybrid swarm burst forth in a dazzling display of light and motion. It flowed like liquid mercury through the lab's emergency vents, racing towards the surface. As Zarkali shock troops burst into the lab, Mira and Emmett raised their hands in surrender, hoping against hope that their desperate gambit would pay off. Above ground, the battle for Washington, D.C. raged with apocalyptic fury. Zarkali walkers, towering monstrosities of alien metal, strode through the streets, laying waste to everything in their path. Human resistance fighters, a ragtag mix of military personnel and civilian volunteers, fought with desperate courage, but they were hopelessly outgunned. It was into this maelstrom of destruction that the hybrid swarm emerged. At first, it seemed to hesitate, as if assessing the situation. Then, with breathtaking speed, it divided into countless streams, each seeking out a human host. Staff Sergeant Maria Ruiz was crouched behind the shattered remains of the Lincoln Memorial, her rifle empty, her squad dead or dying around her. As she prepared for what she was sure would be her final stand, she felt a strange tingling sensation across her skin. Before she could react, the hybrid swarm enveloped her. For a moment, Maria felt a searing pain unlike anything she had ever experienced. Her vision blurred, and she feared she was dying. But then, suddenly, clarity rushed in. She felt stronger, faster, more alive than she ever had before. Knowledge flooded her mind. Tactical data, weapons specifications, even glimpses of Zarkali biology. As the hybrid swarm integrated with her nervous system, Maria realized she was no longer just human. She had become something more. A fusion of human will, alien biology, and cutting-edge technology. And she wasn't alone. All across the battlefield, the remaining human fighters underwent similar transformations. Wounds healed in seconds, fatigue vanished, and ordinary men and women found themselves capable of extraordinary feats. A Zarkali walker rounded the corner, its energy cannons powering up for another devastating blast. Maria stood, no longer afraid. She felt the nanobots within her body resonating with the alien weapon's energy signature. With a thought, she extended her hand, and a shield of swirling techno-organic matter materialized before her. The walker fired, but its energy blast splashed harmlessly against Maria's shield. More than that, she felt the weapon's power being absorbed, fueling her own strength. With a primal yell, she launched herself at the walker, her body now capable of incredible speeds and strength. As she tore through the alien machine's armor with her bare hands, Maria saw similar scenes playing out across the city. Humans, enhanced by the hybrid swarm, were turning the tide of battle. They moved with impossible agility, shrugged off wounds that should have been fatal, and wielded the very energy of their enemies as a weapon. In orbit, aboard the Zarkali command ship, Captain Xylith watched in growing horror as his invasion force was routed by these newly empowered humans. Impossible, he snarled, his earlier smugness replaced by disbelief and rage. Recall the ground forces. Prepare the solar flare cannon. We'll burn this entire continent to ash. But even as the order was given, a new threat appeared on the ship's sensors. The original nanobot swarm, augmented by its fusion with the symbiotes on Earth, was racing up through the atmosphere. It moved with purpose, adapting and evolving with each passing second. As the swarm enveloped the Zarkali fleet, the aliens discovered a terrifying truth. The same hybrid entity that had empowered humanity was now turning their own ships against them. System after system fell to the swarm's influence, and Xylith could only watch in impotent fury as his mighty armada began to crumble. Back in the ruins of Washington, D.C., Maria Ruiz stood atop the broken dome of the Capitol building, her enhanced senses allowing her to perceive the battle raging in orbit. She felt connected to every other transformed human, to the hybrid swarm itself, all of them united in a singular purpose, the defense of Earth. As the sun rose on a new day, the first Zarkali ships began to fall from the sky, driven by human will and hybrid technology. The desperate gambit had paid off, but the war was far from over. Humanity had survived the night, bloody but unbroken, and now stood ready to take the fight to the stars. The age of heroes had begun. The tables turned. The dawn of a new era broke over a scared but defiant Earth. In the 3 days since the deployment of the hybrid swarm, humanity had clawed its way back from the brink of extinction. Cities still smoldered, and the toll in lives and infrastructure was staggering. But for the first time since the Zarkali invasion began, hope flourished. In the skies above, the remains of the alien armada hung like malevolent stars, disabled but not destroyed. The hybrid swarm had infiltrated their systems, rendering their fearsome weapons inert, but a stalemate had been reached. Neither side could decisively defeat the other. Dr. Mira Chen stood in the makeshift command center hastily erected in the ruins of the Pentagon, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of Earth and its unwelcome visitors. The nanobots flowing through her bloodstream allowed her to perceive data streams invisible to normal human senses. The Zarkali are adapting, she announced to the assembled military and scientific leaders. They're developing countermeasures to the hybrid swarm. We need to press our advantage before they neutralize it entirely. General Sandra Martinez nodded grimly. Agreed. But how? We've repelled their ground invasion, but we lack the means to take the fight to their ships. A voice piped up from the back of the room. Maybe we don't need ships of our own. All eyes turned to the speaker, a young woman with close-cropped hair and the bearing of a soldier. Staff Sergeant Maria Ruiz stepped forward, her eyes glowing faintly with the power of the hybrid swarm. The swarm connects us all, Maria continued, her voice gaining confidence. I can feel it, and I bet you can too, Doc. What if we could use that connection to coordinate a global assault? Mira's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. A synchronized attack, using the swarm as a neural network. It could work, but we'd need to boost the signal somehow. I think I can help with that. A new voice chimed in. A lanky teenager pushed his way to the front, a laptop clutched to his chest. Name's Zane. I guess I'm what you'd call a hacker. General Martinez raised an eyebrow. And how exactly did you get in here, son? Zane grinned sheepishly. Let's just say your security could use an upgrade. But that's not important right now. What's important is that me and my crew have been poking around the edges of the Zarkali's communications network. We think we found a backdoor. For the next hour, the unlikely group, soldiers, scientists, and a teenage hacker, hashed out a daring plan. They would use Zane's discovered backdoor to piggyback on the Zarkali's own communication network, amplifying the hybrid swarm's signal. This would allow for instantaneous, global coordination of all enhanced humans. As the strategy took shape, Mira felt a growing sense of anticipation. This could be more than just a military operation, she mused. With this level of coordination, we might be able to push the limits of the hybrid swarm's capabilities. Maria nodded enthusiastically. I felt it in combat. The more in sync we are, the more we can do. It's like we're evolving with every fight. Then let's give evolution a nudge, Mira said with a determined smile. Zane, how quickly can you and your team set up this network? The young hacker cracked his knuckles dramatically. Give us 6 hours and enough caffeine, and we'll have the whole world linked up. General Martinez surveyed the room, her eyes lingering on each face. The brilliant scientist, the enhanced soldier, the genius hacker. In that moment, she felt a surge of pride in humanity's resilience and ingenuity. You have 5 hours, she said. Let's show these aliens what happens when they push humanity into a corner. The next few hours were a frenzy of activity. As Zane and his team of hackers worked their digital magic, Mira and her scientists fine-tuned the hybrid swarm's programming. Maria coordinated with military leaders around the globe, preparing for the synchronized assault. With minutes to spare, Zane looked up from his laptop, his face pale but triumphant. We're in. The network's hot, and the Zarkali have no idea we're piggybacking on their tech. Humanity's inferno. The world held its breath as the last echoes of battle faded. Humanity stood victorious, but changed. The hybrid swarm had transformed not just their bodies and minds, but the very fabric of Earth itself. Cities gleamed with impossible architectures of metal and living tissue. The skies shimmered with swarms of nanobots, ever-vigilant sentinels against future threats. In the heart of what was once Washington, D.C., now a sprawling techno-organic metropolis, the leaders of this new humanity gathered to decide the fate of their species and that of their defeated foes. Dr. Mira Chen stood at the center of the newly grown Unity Spire, a living building that pulsed with the collective thoughts of every enhanced human on the planet. Around her, holographic representations of world leaders, military commanders, and scientific minds flickered into existence. We stand at a crossroads. Mira began, her voice carrying to every corner of the globe through the hybrid swarm's network. We have defeated the Zarkali, but in doing so, we have become something more than human. The question before us now is, what do we do with this power? General Sandra Martinez, her uniform now in seamless blend of cloth and living metal, stepped forward. We should strike now, while we have the advantage. The Zarkali surely have homeworlds, colonies. We can take the fight to them, ensure they never threaten Earth again. A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembled leaders, but Staff Sergeant Maria Ruiz shook her head. And then what? We become the very thing we fought against. Conquerors burning worlds. Not conquerors, Zane, the young hacker turned global cyber defense coordinator, chimed in. Guardians, we've seen what's out there now. We have a responsibility to protect not just Earth, but other worlds that might fall victim to species like the Zarkali. The debate raged for hours, viewpoints clashing and merging in real time through the neural network. As the discussion reached a fever pitch, a new presence made itself known. The hybrid swarm itself, now verging on true sentience after its merger with millions of human minds, joined the conversation. In a voice that was both alien and intimately familiar, it spoke. We are neither merely human nor purely machine. We are evolution incarnate, adaptation given form. Our purpose is not to conquer or to hide, but to grow, to explore, to become more than we are. A hush fell over the assembly as the implications of the swarm's words sank in. It was Mira who finally broke the silence. Then let us become more. Not through destruction, but creation. We'll forge a path to the stars, not as conquerors, but as explorers and protectors. As if in response to her words, the hybrid swarm began to move with newfound purpose. Across the globe, massive structures began to take shape. Launch platforms, space elevators, and orbital rings. The collective will of humanity, augmented by the swarm's incredible capabilities, was reshaping the planet for its next great leap. But even as humanity prepared to ascend to the stars, a final challenge loomed. The captured Zarkali, including their leader Captain Silith, awaited judgment. The alien commander was brought before the council, his once imposing form now diminished in the face of humanity's transformation. Silith looked around with a mixture of fear and awe. What are you going to do with us?" he asked, his voice a far cry from the arrogant tones that had once threatened Earth's destruction. Mira stepped forward, her eyes glowing with the power of the hybrid swarm. "That, Captain, depends on you. We stand ready to forge a new future, not just for humanity, but for all sentient life. Will you join us in this endeavor, or cling to your old ways of conquest and destruction?" For a long moment, Silith was silent. Then, to everyone's surprise, he lowered himself to one knee. "We were wrong," he said, his voice heavy with the weight of realization. "We thought strength came from domination. You have shown us a different path. If you would have us, we offer our knowledge, our technology, and our sincere wish for redemption." A ripple of astonishment went through the assembly. It was Maria who spoke first. "After everything they did, can we trust them?" Zane shrugged. "The swarm is in their systems. They couldn't betray us even if they wanted to. Besides, isn't offering a second chance the kind of thing this new humanity should stand for?" General Martinez nodded slowly. "Redemption through service. It's not a new concept, but perhaps it's time to apply it on a galactic scale." As the council debated, the hybrid swarm interfaces with the Zarkali's own technology. In a blinding flash of inspiration, it presented a new possibility, a way to integrate the aliens into the swarm, not as conquered subjects, but as partners in a grand cosmic endeavor. Mira took a deep breath, then placed her hand on a glowing panel. As the senior scientist and one of the original hybrid swarm hosts, she would act as the focal point for the global link. Initiating neural sync in 3, 2, 1. The world fell away. Mira gasped as her consciousness expanded, connecting with millions of minds across the planet. She felt Maria's unwavering courage, Zane's brilliant analytical mind, and countless other humans, each bringing their unique strengths to the collective. Through this vast neural network, Mira began to perceive the hybrid swarm in an entirely new way. It wasn't just a tool or a weapon. It was evolving, becoming something greater than the sum of its parts. "Everyone, focus on the swarm," Mira projected her thoughts through the network. Feel its potential. Shape it with your will. Across the globe, enhanced humans turned their collective concentration to the hybrid swarm. Soldiers visualized impenetrable shields and unstoppable weapons. Scientists imagined advances in healing and adaptation. Artists and dreamers contributed wild, beautiful ideas that pushed the boundaries of possibility. In orbit, aboard the crippled Zarkeli command ship, Captain Sylith felt a growing sense of dread. Something's happening, he snarled to his subordinates. The human weapons are changing. On every continent, in every ocean, the hybrid swarm responded to humanity's collective will. It flowed like liquid metal, coalescing into shapes both beautiful and terrifying. In New York, a massive techno-organic Statue of Liberty rose from the harbor, its torch burning with captured Zarkeli energy. In the Amazon rainforest, trees fused with the swarm became towering guardians, their roots extending deep into the earth to draw power from the planet's core. Maria Ruiz stood atop the ruins of the Washington Monument, her body crackling with power. She raised her hand, and a swarm of nanobots swirled around her arm, forming a cannon that hummed with barely contained energy. For Earth, she whispered and fired. A beam of blinding light shot skyward, joined by countless others from around the globe. The concentrated barrage struck the Zarkeli fleet with devastating force. Ships that had shrugged off humanity's mightiest weapons crumpled like paper, their advanced shields useless against this evolving, adaptive assault. Sylith watched in horror as his mighty armada was systematically dismantled. Impossible, he breathed. They were primitives, savages. No, Mira's voice echoed through every ship, carried by the hybrid swarm's infiltration. We are humanity. We adapt. We overcome. And we do not take kindly to bullies. As the Zarkeli fleet burned in orbit, the hybrid swarm enacted humanity's will across the planet. Destroyed cities began to rebuild themselves, the swarm repurposing debris into new, incredible architectures that fused biology, technology, and human ingenuity. Polluted waters ran clear as swarm-enhanced microorganisms purified entire ecosystems in hours. In the Pentagon Command Center, General Martinez watched the holographic display with a mixture of awe and trepidation. The tables had turned so completely, so quickly, that she could hardly believe it. "Dr. Chen," she said quietly, "what exactly have we become?" Mira tore her attention away from the global neural link, her eyes glowing with an inner light. "Something new, General. Something the universe has never seen before. We've taken our first steps into a new age." As the last Zarkeli ship fell from the sky, humanity stood triumphant. But it was a victory that came with profound questions. They had survived, evolved, and overcome a threat that should have annihilated them. Now, as the hybrid swarm continued to transform the world around them, one question loomed larger than all others. What would humanity do with its newfound power? The answer to that question would shape not just the future of Earth, but the destiny of the entire galaxy. Mira's eyes widened as she grasped the swarm's proposal. "We don't have to choose between punishment and forgiveness," she said. "We can offer transformation. The Zarkeli can join us in our evolution, become part of something greater than either of our species ever imagined." Sylith, hearing this, looked up with a mixture of hope and trepidation. "You would share this power with us. After all we've done, the future we're building has room for growth, change, and redemption," Mira replied. "But the choice must be yours." In that moment, watching the once mighty alien commander grapple with the enormity of the offer, humanity collectively held its breath. This decision would set the tone for their entire cosmic future. Sylith slowly rose to his feet. "On behalf of my people, we accept. Let our redemption begin with this union." What followed was a transformation unlike anything either species had experienced. The hybrid swarm enveloped the Zarkeli, breaking them down to their constituent atoms before rebuilding them anew. Alien and human DNA merged, creating beings that were neither one nor the other, but something gloriously unique. As the process completed, Thylith opened eyes that now shimmered with the same inner light as his former enemies. We understand now, he said, his voice resonating with newfound harmony. This is what it means to be part of something greater. With the Zarkeli integrated and their technology fully assimilated, humanity's ascension accelerated at a breathtaking pace. The hybrid swarm, now enriched with alien knowledge, began to construct wonders that defied imagination. Massive arc ships took shape in orbit, their hulls alive and adaptive, capable of sustaining entire ecosystems on voyages across the galaxy. Space elevators stretched from Earth to the stars, their nanofiber cables strong enough to anchor the planet to the cosmos. As the day of launch approached, Mira stood atop the Unity Spire, watching the frenetic activity in the skies above. Maria and Zane joined her, their forms shimmering with barely contained energy. "Are we ready for this?" Maria asked, a touch of her old human uncertainty bleeding through. Zane grinned, his eyes flickering with streams of data. "Ready? We were born for this. The entire universe is out there waiting for us." Mira nodded, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. "We set out not as conquerors, but as explorers and protectors. We carry with us the best of humanity, our creativity, our resilience, our capacity for growth and change. But we also carry the lesson the Zarkeli taught us, the danger of unchecked aggression and the importance of redemption." As if in response to her words, the hybrid swarm coalesced around them, forming a shimmering gateway. Through it, they could see the vast expanse of space, teeming with possibilities. The galaxy once trembled at the approach of the Zarkeli world burners, Mira said softly. Now let it wonder at the arrival of humanity's phoenix, rising from the ashes of our near destruction to light the cosmos with the fire of creation and hope. With a collective thought, humanity activated their wondrous machines. The arc ships rose majestically from their cradles, carrying within them the seeds of a new civilization. As they breached the atmosphere, the hybrid swarm swirled around them in a dazzling display, like a newborn phoenix spreading its wings for the first time. Earth, scared but unbroken, watched as its children took their first steps into the cosmic ocean. The age of humanity's inferno had begun, not a fire of destruction, but a blaze of creation, illuminating the darkness of space with the boundless potential of a species reborn. The stars beckoned, and humanity, in all its newfound glory and wisdom, answered the call.